Hey everyone, welcome back to another session. In today's class, we are going to deal with the circulatory system of cockroach. Let's begin our class. We'll start with the type of circulatory system. How many types of circulatory system are present? One is the open type and the second one is the closed type. If we'll talk about the open type, here blood vessels are poorly developed. When I say poorly developed, so you will be able to see arteries and veins but won't able to see the capillaries. What about the closed circulatory system? Here blood vessels are developed. Now, when it is developed, you will be able to see arteries, veins and the capillaries. What is the other difference between open and closed? When you talk about the open, so what will happen? Suppose these are the three organs present over here. So your blood is going to bath organ directly. So आपके organ के ऊपर directly blood is going to come. Okay, directly blood is going to come. But when we'll talk about the closed circulatory system, suppose if I'll talk about my kidney, so no blood is going to bath the kidney. What will happen? Arteries, veins and capillaries are going to supply the blood. That is the difference between the open type of circulation and the closed type of circulation. So in cockroach, what type of circulation do we have? Open type. This was the neat question. Okay. Now, blood and hemolymph. If I talk about the blood of the cockroach, you have to remember that I'm talking about the hemolymph. It flows freely in the open type of circulatory system, and within the body cavity it is going to flow. Now body cavity over here, क्या नाम दिया हुआ है? We call it as hemocoel. Seal means what? It means cavity. Hemocoel means what? It is the cavity in which hemolymph is traveling. Okay, hemolymph is present, right? Now blood vessels are poorly developed over here and open into the spaces. I told you, directly organs are going to bath in blood. Now location of the visceral organ. What is the meaning of viscera? Viscera means the internal organ. So your internal organs are present. Suppose this is the body of the let me just erase it once. Suppose this is the cockroach and this is the body of the cockroach. So organ present over here, they are present in the hemocoel, which is nothing but the body cavity, which is nothing but the body cavity, which is filled with what? Filled with the hemolymph. So since it is filled with the hemolymph, all the organs are directly bathed in the hemolymph. All the organs are directly bathed in the hemolymph. So this is the organ. Now these are directly bathed in the hemolymph, right? Now three components are associated with the circulatory system. One is hemocoel, second one is heart, and the third one is blood. Hemocoel is nothing but your body cavity. Heart will discuss about it. Blood means we are talking about the hemolymph, right? Now, let's start with the hemocoel. Just now I told you hemocoel is nothing but it is the body cavity. Body cavity in which what is present? Your hemolymph is present. Now, suppose if this is the body of the cockroach, so inside the body you have space. That space we call it as body cavity or the hemocoel. Now these hemocoels are divided into three parts. Okay, three regions are there. It's divided into three sinuses or three cavities present. Okay, three sinuses or three cavities are present. What are the three cavity or three sinuses? The upper one, see, this is the dorsal side and this is the ventral side. So this is sinus. Sinus is what class? It is nothing but the space or the cavity. Seal is what? The whole body cavity को seal बोलते हैं. Sinus means small amount of cavity will be there, small amount of space will be there. उसको हमने sinus बोल दिया, ठीक है? Now the sinus which is present on the dorsal side we call it as dorsal sinus. The sinus which is present in the middle we call it as middle sinus. The sinus which is present at the ventral side we call it as ventral sinus or perineural sinus. Okay, now once again, now dorsal sinus की बात करें तो dorsal sinus also called as pericardial hemocoel, which is small and encloses heart. Middle one we call it as perivisceral hemocoel, which is large and encloses most of the visceral organ. Ventral one is called as the sternal hemocoel, small and encloses the nerve cord. See this diagram, you will understand everything. Now see this. This is the body of the cockroach. This is the body of the cockroach. I have divided into three parts. You can see yellow color is one sinus, grey color is the second sinus, and the brown color is the third sinus. The first sinus, which is towards the dorsal side, is the dorsal ventral, correct? Okay. The first sinus which is present on the dorsal side, we call it as dorsal sinus. Okay. The sinus which is present in the middle, we call it as middle sinus. The sinus which is present towards the ventral side, we call it as ventral sinus. Now, how these body cavities are actually divided? These are being divided by the diaphragm. So, two diaphragms are present. One is towards the dorsal side, the pink color one which you can see. Other one is towards the ventral side, the green color one which you can see. Okay. Now, is this diaphragm is same as the diaphragm which is present in our body? No, our body is the muscular one. Diaphragm we call it as muscle. But here it is nothing but just a membrane which is dividing the body. Here the diaphragm is nothing but just a membrane which is dividing the body. So cockroach whole body is divided into three parts. We call it as three sinus. First one we call it as ventral sinus, then middle sinus, and then the dorsal sinus. Now this ventral sinus is also called as pericardial sinus. Cardial means what? Heart. Since heart is present in the since heart is present in the dorsal sinus, we also call it as pericardial sinus. Now second one middle में अगर आप देखेंगे तो almost all the visceral organ, all the internal organs are present in the second sinus. So we also call it as perivisceral sinus, right? Now the last one we call it as perineural. Neural means I'm talking about the nervous system. Here you can see the nerve cord is passing by. Here you can see ventral nerve cord is passing by. That's why third sinus we can also call it as perineural sinus. I hope you must have understood this. Now on the diaphragm you have pores are present over here. On the diaphragm, on the both diaphragm, pores are present over here, so that the hemolymph which is present in the perineural cavity will enter into the perivisceral cavity, and from perivisceral cavity it is going to enter into the pericardial sinus. Okay. So this was whole about the hemocoel. See here, it is divided by the two muscular membrane. We call it as diaphragm. One is the dorsal diaphragm, other one is the ventral diaphragm. Both the diaphragm have valvular pores. So with the pore which I told you, it is having the valve. That means it will allow the movement of hemolymph only in one direction. That is from perineural to perivisceral, perivisceral to pericardial. Backward flow of hemolymph is not allowed over here, right? Now, the next thing we are going to study here is the heart. Your heart, you can see here again in the picture. Can you see this red color one? This is nothing but your heart. How many chambers are present? Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. How many chambers are there? 13 chambers. How many chambers are present in our heart? Only 4 chambers. But for cockroach, how many chambers are present? 13 chambers are present. Now, on this 13, let's see the first one. The first chamber we call it as aorta. The first chamber of the heart we call it as aorta. So suppose if this one I am drawing one chamber of the heart. So here you have the opening. Here you have the opening. See here. Here you have this is one chamber. So here you have the opening. This opening we call it as ostia. How many ostias are present? 12 pair they have written. Why 12 chambers are there? Okay, last one, fine, 12 pairs are there. Okay, ostia we have 12 pairs because on the 13th chamber we do not have any ostia. Okay, no ostia is present on the 13th chamber. So how many ostia do we have? We have only 12 pair of ostia. Now if I'll see two chamber, first and second chamber, let me erase this once, one second. So you can see a muscle is present over here which is connecting the two chamber. What is the name of this muscle? We call it as aliary muscle. Now see here. How many chambers do we have? 13 chambers. But how many aliary muscles do we have? Only 12 pairs. That means aliary muscle is not present on the single chamber. It is nothing but it is connecting one chamber with the other chamber. Okay, it is connecting one chamber with the another chamber, right? Now see here, heart is nothing but the long, I told you 13 chambers are there na, so it is long, muscular in nature, contractile tubule, so contraction and relaxation has to be there, otherwise blood pumping won't occur. What is the location? Just now I told you the pericardial hemocoelom, it will be present, that is nothing but your ventral sinus. Sorry, my bad. It is nothing but your dorsal sinus. It is nothing but your dorsal sinus. Okay. So where is the location? Pericardial hemocoel, which is nothing but your dorsal sinus, right? Now it is found in the it is found along the mid dorsal line. So this is the cockroach. You will see along the mid dorsal line towards the dorsal side में mid line में you will see the heart, where beneath the terga. What is terga? If you remember, terga is nothing but the scleroid which is present on the dorsal side. So beneath the terga of the thorax and abdomen. So if this is the cockroach, this is the dorsal side, this is the ventral side. Dorsal side के scleroid को what do we call it as? We call it as terga. So beneath the terga, what is present? Your heart is present, right? How many chambers are present? 13 chambers are present. Let's divide these 13 chambers. 3 chambers are present in the thoracic and 10 chambers are present in the abdomen. How many thoracic do we have? Thoracic region? 3. How many abdomen region do we have? 10. So all the 10 abdomen region have 1 chamber and all the 3 thoracic region has 1 chamber. Every chamber open into the other present in front of it. So suppose this is the, see here, this is the first chamber, this is the second chamber. So second chamber is opening in the front chamber. What is present in the front chamber? Okay, through the valvular opening. So here ostia is present and you will be having the valvular opening. Valve will be present over there. Now its posterior end is closed. If you will see, anterior end is open which is connecting with the another chamber, but posterior end is close, right? The anterior end continue with the forward direction as in the anterior aorta. What is aorta? The first chamber we call it as aorta, right? Now aorta is nothing but the first chamber. Ostia is nothing but the small aperture. What did I tell you? See here, the ostia will be present over here. So blood is actually going to enter inside the ostia. Okay, blood is actually going to enter inside the ostia. So ostia is the small aperture or the opening, one on each side at the posterior end. So suppose if this is the one chamber, so you have one ostia over here, another ostia over here. So how many ostias are present in one chamber? 2 ostias are present. Where? In the posterior side. Now ostia present only on the 12th chamber, because on the 13th chamber ostia is absent. Wall which allow the blood to pass only into the heart from the dorsal sinus. So what did I tell you? 3 sinus we have, right? Dorsal sinus, middle sinus and the ventral sinus. I told you from ventral sinus hemolymph will enter into middle से dorsal में. So here these are the chambers present over here. So यहाँ जो hemolymph present है, through ostia it is going to enter into the blood chamber, right? Now, opening and closing of ostia is controlled by what? It is controlled by the aliary muscle. So, this opening and closing is controlled by the aliary muscle. Now, let's see what is aliary muscle. Aliary muscle, how many do we have? We have only 12. Do not write 13. See, one chamber, another chamber, it is connected by the aliary muscle. The opening and closing of the valve, the ostia is controlled by the aliary muscle. How it is? If you will see, it is triangular in structure. It is triangular in structure. Every segment that is on 13 chamber has one pair of these muscles situated on the lateral side. So towards the lateral side is its present. See, this is your dorsal side, this is your ventral side and this is your lateral side. So where it is present? On the lateral side of body. If we talk about the aliary muscle, it has 2 parts, the broad base and the pointed end. Pointed end is towards the terga. Pointed end is towards the terga and broad base is towards the pericardial septum. What is pericardial septum? It is just below, it is present just below the exoskeleton. Okay, the layer which is the septum which is present just below the exoskeleton, we call it as pericardial. So this is your exoskeleton. Just below exoskeleton you have the pericardial septum. So the broad base will be present over here, and the narrow base will be pointed towards the terga, pointed towards the or attached towards the terga. Okay, terga. Next one. Now, circulatory fluid की बात करें तो we are talking about the blood. The blood of the cockroach we call it as hemolymph. It consists of, like our blood consists of plasma and the corpuscle. So here also plasma is present, which is nothing but your fluid, but for the blood cells here the name is given hemocytes. We do not, I mean cockroach do not have RBC WBCs. It has the free corpuscles which we call it as hemocyte. Hemocyte means cell, right, which is phagocytic in nature. We have already studied about the phagocytosis. What is phagocytosis? It is going to engulf the foreign particle. Phagocytosis is nothing but it is going to engulf the foreign particle. Is there any respiratory pigment present over here? There is no respiratory pigment. There is no hemoglobin present over here. Since hemoglobin is not present, it is not going to play major role in the respiration. Now, what is the function of blood? Absorption में it is going to absorb the digested food. Where it is going to absorb the digested food? In the alimentary canal. Elimination of the waste through what? Through the excretory organ. Defensive, that means phagocytosis will occur. Just now we saw who will do? Hemocyte will do, right? Hemocytes will do. Then secretion, circulation or transportation of the hormone. Circulation or the transportation of the hormone is being done by the blood. Let's see the circulation of blood. Now, when the chamber, normal circulation, how it happens, see here, मान लो ये 13 chambers are there. When the chamber contracts, blood flow from posterior to anterior. This is super important. Blood flows from posterior to anterior in which direction? In forward direction. In forward direction. Right? Now, when your aliary muscle contract, what will happen? The pericardial septum, exoskeleton, below that you have a pericardial septum. So pericardial septum will be pulled down. When your aliary muscle contract, pericardial septum pull down, due to which what will happen? The volume will be increase over here. कौन सा volume? Pericardial sinus volume will be increased, due to which what will happen? Blood flow from perivisceral sinus to pericardial. Let me repeat it over here again. Change the color. देखो यहाँ पे, so 3 sinuses present, your dorsal sinus, middle sinus and the ventral sinus. So pericardial septum will be pulled down, due to which the volume of pericardial sinus will be increased. So blood, what will happen? Blood flow from perivisceral, that means the second one, into the pericardial. Blood flow will start from perivisceral to pericardial. When your aliary muscle relaxes, pericardial septum moves back to its original position. So what will happen? Volume will be decreased, due to which what will happen? Blood enter into the heart chamber from the pericardial sinus. See here, when your aliary muscle contract, blood enter from middle to pericardial one, middle to pericardial one, right? When your aliary muscle relaxes from pericardial, it is going to enter into the chamber. Repeating myself again, see here, this is your chamber present, and let me just, where should I draw? This is your chamber. This is your chamber. So this is first sinus, second sinus, third sinus. So when aliary muscle contract, blood enter into the pericardial chamber. When aliary muscle relax from pericardial chamber, blood is going to enter inside the blood is going to enter inside the heart chamber. Okay, blood is going to enter inside the heart chamber. Repeating myself again, when the aliary muscle contract, the blood is going to enter into the perivisceral sinus. Now when the aliary muscle relax from the perivisceral sinus, blood is going to enter inside the chamber. Through what? Through Ostia. Now note, when the heart is relaxed, blood enter into the aorta. Let's see the flow of blood. So from the anterior aorta, see here class, let me change the color once, or I can show you. नहीं है ना? Fine, ठीक है. Just give me 1 minute. Let me see कहाँ है. Okay, now just remember this is 1, 2 and this is the 13th one. 13th one, this is first one, this is second one. So blood will flow from 13 to first one, that is nothing but your aorta. From aorta, blood is going to enter into the head sinus. From head sinus, blood is going to enter into two ways. Either it is going to enter into the visceral sinus or it can enter into the sternal sinus. See, dorsal side, sorry, ventral side में आपका क्या होता है? Sternal. Scleroid कौन सा होता है? Sternal scleroid होता है. Sternum होता है, right? So this name is peristernal sinus. So from head sinus, blood can enter into perivisceral sinus or peristernal sinus. After that, what will happen? When your ellery muscle contract, what will happen? The blood from perivisceral, it is going to enter into the pericardial sinus. When your ellery muscle relax, what will happen? You can write it over here. Ellery muscle contracts. When it contracts, the blood is going to enter into the pericardial sinus. When ellery muscle relax, what will happen? Blood is going to enter into the chamber of the heart. And then when whole heart is relaxed, then what will happen? The blood is going to enter into the aorta, right? So this was all about the flow of the circulation of the blood. This is super important for you to remember. Please remember it. That's all we have in today's class. Thank you.